PJNet.tv. It is 9 p.m. on the East Coast, and you are watching as our bumper rolls. We are getting ready to get started. Let's make sure that our recording is on. That's a check. And we are streaming. That is a check. Our chat room is waiting. That's a check. And we even have our guest standing by in the green room. So we're all checked off. Let's begin a countdown to Studio 21. Well, good evening. Welcome. This is PJNet.tv. I'm Coach Prasick, and we get together Monday through Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we usually have another guest at 9:30, almost always. And once a month, one of our family members, I would say, team player, comes to visit with us and share with us, and he's always in our chat room, and just a great PJNet supporter and a great guy. And it's always a pleasure. Everybody looks forward to hearing from our good friend Ben Cooper. I'll turn that off, so thank you. I know I have voices inside my head, Ben. that was one of them. But Ben, hey, thanks for coming on. I understand from our conversation before we went on the air that it's a chilly 32 degrees outside and perhaps inside as well.
Well, we're not there yet. But in working and doing my new office space, as you can see I don't have my wood pallet that normally sits behind me with some things on it. I actually have shelves, and if you look close enough, if you'd zoom in, you'd see that my books that I've written take a higher shelf than my beekeeping books and then my Christian books, and if it was a little bit lower, some of my PJNet family books, people that have written books, are on the lower level. So I'm in my new space, but in rewiring my direct connect to cable, I accidentally hit the hot water pipe with a drill bit. It didn't take much to create a hole, so I quickly shut the water off. I shut the furnace off, and I will have some work to do tomorrow morning, sweating pipes, and hopefully it won't be too terribly cold, but I got to get it done because I've got a busy. I think last night I sent Rachel my calendar, a picture of my calendar, which sits over top of my screen, so it reminds me of the things to do. I have 11 different things that in the next 2 weeks, programs, presentations, places to be in 14 days. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, and I hadn't planned on doing extra work, but plumbing will be part of what tomorrow brings for me. So,
well, you're a jack of all trades. You just got to get control of that drill bit, though, Ben. You have to. If you don't control it, it will control you, and it has the upper hand at the moment. But we'll try to get that.
Haven't found one that drills on a 95 degree or a 90 degree angle really well. And that's kind of what I needed, and because I was in a hurry, that's usually what takes place.
Hurry is the incubator of mistakes, sir.
It is. So I drilled twice when I really only should have drilled once. But I'll have to tear apart the floor because, of course, that leak is right between two floors. So there's about 4 or 5 inches of where the hole is, and I can't get to it. So that's the way usually life goes. But
Ben, should I be calling you Reverend now? You're actually filling in for filling the pulpit,
Well, I'm filling the online Bible study that I just started because our pastor moved on to another church, and just this beginning of this month. And so we are having guest speakers, people coming in, and to keep continuity Wednesday night because of COVID, we do online Bible study. Right. So if there's somebody, and there might be some people on Facebook listening, you're going to hear me sound familiar because you're going to hear the same thing tomorrow night from our church online Bible study. But that, as you guys were talking about last night, having with Doug, having online versus in person, when sometimes you're limited, that online, when I started that, there was two people from out of the country. There was somebody as far away. Our guest Elijah, you remember the young man?
Yes. Yeah.
Elijah Holston.
Holston. Yeah.
He tuned in and he tuned in and listened to the Bible study. And so when you have those connections and you do it online, it really opens the door that more people can hear, more people can see, and you can engage those people if you have the right. Like right now, I can't see who's in the chat room and what's there. You can, because you have multiple screens, I guess. I can't see that. But with Facebook, you can do that and see comments and see who pops in. And, it's not like, it's like Zoom, but different. But it allows you to engage people as they come in. If they had questions, they can pop them in the chat and it works. So I find that most of the time when things hit me when I don't expect them, but even, can you actually believe I've learned some things doing my own private Bible study? And so out of those private moments in the mornings when I read and pray for family and issues, PJ Ned is always in my prayer, and our family that's there in my prayers. I was reading Zechariah the other day, and something, I read it last year. I read the same book last year. I read it before, but it never, how can I read something and it's there for the first time? It's been there all along. And so I'm going to read Zechariah, and I'm going to talk about some things. But Coach, I sent you a picture that you can post up anytime while I read this verse from Zechariah 14:20. And it says, on that day, holy to the Lord will be inscribed on the bells of the horses, and the cooking pots in the Lord's house will be like sacred bowls in front of the altar. And as that picture's up there, I don't know if those listening have ever had the opportunity to see those 8 Clydesdale, or some of the representative of 8 Clydesdale that Anheuser-Busch has, and goes out and do parades or events. It's probably one of the most impressive displays of teamwork and working together. Years ago at Penn State, the Anheuser-Busch team with 4 doubles, or a team of 8 total animals, came and was there for an afternoon. I had the pleasure to be able to walk right up close to them, see the beautiful tack, the harness, the wagon, and you got to have a Dalmatian dog up there as well. But they are, if there was such thing as in the animal kingdom as I guess what I would call there's the 7 wonders of the world. If there was the 7 wonders of the animal world or the animal kingdom, the Clydesdale team that Anheuser-Busch puts together and displays would easily rank in one of those top 7 to me. Some natural animals like the orca whale or sperm whale, one of the biggest animals on the planet. But what we have today in seeing those animals perform in unison, they're trained extremely well. They have several farms. Anheuser-Busch owns about 250 Clydesdale, and there's a selection process. Ones that don't get chosen for their breeding program or to be able to hook up to the wagon get sold at a premium because they have a standard that's well above most anybody else. But looking at that stuff, Zechariah tells me that in the millennial kingdom, in the future, ordinary things are going to become plain. I'm sorry, plain things are going to become holy. Ordinary things are going to become holy. so much detail. In my Bible study that I'm doing online for our church is finding God in the details. And these small little things that we read over, glance over, and never even catch. Maybe it takes 4 times of reading the scriptures in Zechariah, finding out that holy to the Lord is inscribed on every one of the bells that are on the harness. That is extraordinary, exquisite. It's just not going to be black harness, nothing shiny. It's going to be decked out in perfection, to the point where even the pans that people cook on their stove are going to look like the golden pots that are burning incense in the altar, in the sanctuary. God's going to take ordinary things and transform them and make them into something extraordinary, or as we would say biblically, going to make them holy. If he is that ornate in the details and concerned about inscribing on the bells of the harness of the teams of horses in the millennial kingdom, how much more is he concerned about the details of us and our heart? He's going to take and change an ordinary person like me or like you. There's nothing exciting about me. If you take away the fact that Christ through the Holy Spirit is indwelling in me, I'm nobody important. I'm just a common Joe like anybody else. But because the God of the universe, the God of all time, through his Holy Spirit indwells in me, I can become extraordinary or extraordinary, and I can become holy because of him. And everything is going to do that, down to the very nuts and bolts, jots and tittle of anything that you see. The details are going to be amazing. Comments, thoughts from you?
Well, Ben, we could spend quite a bit of time unpacking this. I think we've got about 8 minutes. But when you're sharing about this, my thoughts went to the instructions that God has given us when they were in the Bible, when they were literally building something. You know, when God told Noah to build the ark, he didn't just say build a big boat. He gave specific, detailed instructions, what type of wood to use. Minute details were covered. And even more so when God gave the instructions on how to build the temple. Or when the Israelites were leaving Egypt, you know, when they were free from their bondage, the Ark of the Covenant, you know, just extraordinary. Well, and as you mentioned, this tells me that God is a relational God. He cares about the details, not just the details in the Ark of the Covenant, not just the details in the ark that preserved Noah and his family through the flood, but he cares about the intimate details in our life. We tend to think of God as the fix-it God. You know, when we have big problems that we can't handle, we say, oh, here, I'm going to turn these over to God after we've exhausted our own resources. Well, God cares about the little things too. You know, I mean, my dog's going through a rough time, and I actually prayed, you know, for my dog. He cares. Hearing this coming from you, you are a very learned person with respect to botanical and biological sciences, you know, the animals. And you're in your book, All Nature Sings, you know, you go into all the various things and the details, the bees. You have conveyed on this program, and I presume other places where you speak, that these minute details are evident if you open your eyes. They're not terribly evident if you're rushing through life only focused on your own self-interest. But when you take a moment, to relax and hear the geese from afar and stop, and you see these creatures flying through the air with grace, and you can hear their honks, their voices a mile away. I've watched wood duck fly through the forest. They'll take off and they'll fly and never break a twig.
Yeah, but turkeys are a little bit different. I was out walking yesterday and my dog kind of spooked up over a little ridge on the edge of my property. I heard a noise and I looked and there was at least 31 because my dog spooked him and 31 turkeys took off in the woods. There was branches, they hit branches and they're not as smart as a wood duck but you go back to what you were saying. God knows when a sparrow falls to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
He cares about the details. He knows how many or the lack thereof of hair on my head. And as I lose hair, especially if you see me from behind, he knows those things and he can count them. He knows exactly how many stars are in the heavens. And, we can't even see them all. And so the amazing thing is that we only see things right now as if we're looking through an opaque piece of glass and nothing of it is clear. In 2 Corinthians 3:18, it says, "And we all with unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. For this comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit." And so we're being transformed. We're being changed right now. When that new millennial kingdom comes, it's going to be extraordinary, extraordinary. The plain things are going to be detailed completely. And I shared with you, Coach, before we started that some people say the devil's in the details. I think the devil takes the details and morphs them into something ungodly and tries to hang his hat on that. But God is a God of detail. God is a God of knowing everything. Why? Because he created everything. And he knows every jot, every tittle that is involved with creation. It's just amazing that how you can look at things and not see the intricate detail that God put into every creature, and some of them more exquisite than others because they couldn't exist if evolution took place. It just wouldn't happen because evolution says survival of the fittest, only the good ones die. Well, you can't start with junk and end up with a really good one. You got to start with the best, and we're degressing. We're spinning out and going downward spiral. But when the millennial kingdom comes, things are going to be back closer to what God originally intended. And it's going to be spectacular because of the minute details that God takes pleasure in expressing. I truly believe that God the Father and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit was all three, the Trinity, involved in creation in those 6 literal days. And he and the Holy Spirit and God the Father are going to be truly involved in this recreation during the millennial kingdom. There's still going to be some evil and bad things happen during that, but death is going to be prolonged. We may live 1,000 years instead of only, luckily, 100 years. But God has so much more beyond this life right now that we know it. We could read the news, look at the news, watch whichever news channel you want, and you could be depressed, discouraged, and distraught. God is in the details, even COVID details, even political details. He's in those details, and I can't wait to see the sharper image, the fine tune of what it's going to look like in that millennial kingdom.
Well, when you mention details, and you have to also consider precision. Okay, I've had several motorcycles, but when I got a BMW, when you start taking that motorcycle down and maintaining it, and I was awestruck at the attention to detail. And this is the difference between a Honda and a BMW, a Chevrolet and a Mercedes. Is, why is a Mercedes worth 5 to 10 times as much as a Chevrolet? Attention to details.
Yeah.
You know, the
That
amount
team-
of
Go ahead.
the amount of water on the earth, the distance of the moon from the earth. Do you realize if the moon were just, I mean, if it's not exactly where it is now, life as we know it would end. Literally would end. God put just enough wobble in the rotation of the earth to give us the season. Ben, if it were off 1/100th of 1 degree from what it presently is, life as we know it would virtually make humanity extinct.
Right.
Unbelievable delicacy in the balance of nature. I find it very difficult to believe that this is an accident or a coincidence. There's too much genius in it.
And some of that can be trained, just like that team of Clydesdale. When you see them, that precision, they're the front two team of two duo, and all the way down to the next or the last duo. They are stepping in precision like clockwork. I mean, it's just trained, and part of it, I think, is what comes naturally. Some of the dogs that you have are just naturally service dogs with wildlife. I mean, with livestock, and they are so wired and created with such precision. They know how to do more to corral animals, sheep or cattle, than what the man that's trying to coach them do. They're born with that instinct, that precision of knowing just exactly what their function is. And I think God, as a lot of people, the beginning of the year had, He has a plan for us, and it's to prosper, and it's not to fail. Last year, I come up with a year word, and I thought, you know what? That I recently has been reading an author, Bob Goff, and I really enjoy his books. And he said, I don't have a word to start a year. He said, we spend too much hype trying to come up with that fancy word. He said, just get out there and live and do and be the gospel, be the person that God created you to be. We spend too much time thinking about it, having Bible studies, not Bible doing, as he calls it. And so, I just said, no, I'm not going to worry about a word. I'm just going to do more. I'm going to try to do more. If you look at my schedule, I'm doing more.
Yeah,
So
I'm not enthralled with the idea either, because if it's not spontaneous, it seems like it's been manufactured and somehow fake. For example, Valentine's Day. Okay. What am I supposed to do? Say it's a bad idea? No, but if you have to be prompted to do it, doesn't it cheapen it?
yeah.
Shouldn't every day be a day to express love for those you love, whether it's a marriage relationship or your friends or your love for God?
It doesn't cheapen it if you're in the Hallmark or flower or candy business.
Yeah, maybe that's what's the real.
That's what they live for.
That's what it really is. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Now obviously certain things, the 4th of July, are the annual observance of that mark time.
Right.
But just.
Well, just go back and look at the history of why it's traditional to give your spouse, a woman, a diamond. It didn't used to be.
Oh.
And how much that cost. It because it fattens the pockets of those that sell precious gems. That's basically, and it was a very good, very successful marketing plan. That diamonds are a girl's best friend, and so now everybody wants to know how much did it cost, and rather than what the meaning of what that ring is. So
well, but look at the details in a diamond.
Yeah,
that's no.
How many C's are there? I know it's carat, cut, and clarity.
Yep, 3 C's, and the cut. The that's quite a craft. They're not just shaping a diamond. They intentionally do it in such a way as to reflect and refract at specific. Those angles are important.
Right.
Anyway, There's
I
so
know
many.
Dale's probably knocking on your door.
Oh, yeah,
pretty
he
soon.
sure actually he sure is. I better let him in because he's part of it. So, well, folks, Ben, thank you for sharing. Yes, the details are so important, and God is certainly a God of details. And thanks for sharing with us tonight. We always look forward, and I guess we'll see you in the chat room here in just a few minutes.
Sure.
All
Thanks for
right, thank you,
having
Ben.
me.
Thank you, Ben Cooper on PJNet.tv. What an honor it is. We've got a great team. And another one of our team players, Del Didway, is standing by in our green room. We will be bringing him to the big screen at the bottom of the hour, which is only 3 minutes away. So I'm going to wrap things up real quick, and we'll be right back. What is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And when was that? Folks, never be satisfied with either answer.